Well, thank you for joining our presentation today to talk about learning science on your mobile device. We would like to share the game we have developed. It's called SpacEscape. And I'm Sa Liu. I'm an assistant professor in Harrisburg University. Here together, I have my wonderful developers and my coworker, Professor Brian Gray, and the lead student developer, Sayed, and the UI design and the sound engineer, I would call it, Jesse. So we will share our experience of design and developing this game and the testing as well.
So as far as the development of this app, we created this app with the target audience of middle school students. So it could be anyone over the age of 10. The genre at hand was problem solving. So we wanted to go into the students' strategies and ideas as to how to solve and win the game. The primary topic at hand was space science. We wanted students to explore more about the solar system, the different planets and their different environments. And the primary platform at hand was the Android devices. Our app's available for download on the Google Play Store for free. And yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, like Sayed mentioned, actually as audience right now, if you would like to, you can actually go on Google Play Store. You can search for SpacEscape, and then you will be able to download and play this game. If you need the login ID, you can just send us an email and we will give you the user ID. So I will just briefly talk about the game design. We started designing this game 2 years ago. Two students in our program, interactive media program, we actually was chatting about how we can design. They were taking an astronomy class and they were thinking about how we can design this into a game. So three of us was brainstorming, and then we thought about, oh, maybe we can direct the students into this process while problem solving in this game, thinking about how to save a little girl, Lucy, who lost in the solar system. And if we can find her through this process, maybe the students can learn more about the solar database in the solar system. And so they started to sketch the different idea of how the alien should look like, how Lucy should look like, what the storyline should look like. So that's how this thing all started. And next, Jesse will share about our game development process.
Sure. So for the game development, we used Android Studio, the Android SDK. We used web services. We typically targeted normal mobile phones, but also made adaptable to tablets and larger devices. These devices all hook up to the server. We used MySQL, and those changes are updated as different users sign in and play the game. We used a repository of Git through GitHub, where we collaborated efforts, posted issues and closed issues, as well as comments on upcoming changes that we need through the game, and as well as using DigitalOcean with the SDK to achieve this.
So all of this is well and good, but the question then becomes, how effective is it, right? Because a game that's fun is, wonderful, but we are trying to achieve teaching planetary science through this game. So we've run two different experiments at this point, and I'm going to first go over what we did last year in a previous version of the game. We ran a randomized control pre-post test experiment with over 200 middle schoolers, sixth graders. The experiment started off with 269 sixth graders, but only 228 completed both the pre and the post test. So that's where our data comes in. So we separated them out into one control, one experiment group. Both groups did the pre-test the day before. We then were physically in the classroom in a supplemental classroom setting. So this was an additional class around planetary science. The students were already studying it. And in that setting, we had almost 130 students in the control group, and 107 in the experimental group. And then they played for a 40-minute session, those in the experimental group. And the next day they did a post-test. So that was the setup of our experiment. And what we found was that across all three groups, there was statistically significant growth in learning on planetary science between the pre and the post-test, but that the largest growth was of the students who were in the experimental group and successfully completed the game, that were able to find Lucy. So that is very heartening. And what reinforces the success of the game is that the second most successful group were the students who played the game but were unable to find Lucy. So even those students who were not able to successfully complete the game still experienced significant learning, and more significant learning than the control group. So with that as a basis, we then went on to this year, where we had where we were hoping to be in the classroom again. However, the world stepped in, and so we kind of had to change our experimental setup. And we have, as you can see on the screen, we have pre-test, post-test, and retention test set up. So one of the questions we want to ask is, this is all well and good that they can remember this content for a day, but how well do they retain this information long-term? So we have a retention test that we had students take 2 weeks after completing the game. And as you can see, we had 35 sixth grade students who completed all 3 stages. And you can see the average scores. We have not done a in-depth breakdown of that yet. We are in process of analyzing the data. But this was conducted in a distributed setting in tandem with a couple of local school districts, where we said, hey, encourage your students to download the game, take the pre-test, play the game, take the post-test, take the retention test. It is a little harder to control and encourage a bunch of 6th graders to do such steps when you are not there, either as a teacher or as an experimenter. But this is the structure of the new test, and we are hoping to have some results. The preliminary results look promising, but we are very interested to see how this breaks down long term.
Thanks, Brian. So that concludes our presentation, and here is our whole team here. Team 2020, we had 10 students, 10 people in the team who worked on web design, game design, research, and game development. So if you have any more questions, you can email us at spacescape@harrisburgu.edu, or you can visit us on the website harrisburgu.edu/spacescape to find more information about us. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you later.